20 years ago, I was still a virtue-signaling leftist who felt a kind of righteous moral superiority over pioneering settlers in the Gaza Strip aka Gush Katif. In my eyes, these people were stubborn extremists who only wanted to stir conflict with the poor Arabs of the Gaza Strip and didn't care about any of us Israelis, as long as they could wake up next to the Mediterranean Sea every morning. I was thankfully disillusioned long prior to October 7th, but that did not prevent the deep searing pain. Pain, both for the victims of the 2023 barbaric attack on our South, as well as the needless, heartless, and criminal evacuation of the Gaza Strip settlements. Life in the Gaza envelope. For most of my formative years, I lived in an agricultural community, Moshav, in the western Negev, in a region later dubbed the Gaza envelope. It was a very peaceful existence, with very little to worry about. Back then, the conflict manifested mostly in the PLO, who was busy destroying Lebanon, after attempting to do so to Jordan, showering the north with Katyusha rockets. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't feel, they say. Indeed, until soldiers from our Moshav died in Lebanon, I didn't quite feel much about it. Prior to that, I've lived in the Sinai settlements that were handed over to Egypt as part of the Camp David agreements and experienced a minor personal trauma. My parents, being the good, capable, and protecting people they were, my mom still is, helped me get over this very quickly. In fact, by the time the First Intifada started, during my high school years, I was already leaning left very hard. All that war and dying young soldiers made me yearn for peace and understanding so much that, like many leftists, I allowed myself to be sucked into the cozy, fluffy pipe dream so dangerously depicted in John Lennon's Imagine. Why can't we all just get along? Why can't we just stop fighting? I even decided that being evacuated from my childhood home, in the Sinai, was a good thing. All for peace, right? Right. Just a few kms away, literally 5 to 8 kilometers away, lived those crazy right-wingers who seemed to be the only obstacle for peace. If only they could move out of their homes, to which, not unlike my own childhood one, the leftist Israeli governments, back when even lefties in Israel remembered why we're here, sent them just a couple of decades before. If only they gave up a few inches from our territory, then surely we'd have a real shot at peace. That was the line of thinking which seems to still exist in large swaths in the West. What do the Arabs in Gaza want? They just want to live and let live, right? They want to self-govern and experience some economic growth, technological advancement, and prosperity. Once they have that, what motivation would they ever have to attack Jews? After all, it works so well with Egypt and Jordan. Still, in order to realize this dream, some difficult decisions must be made. And so, Ariel Sharon and his cronies subverted the Likud, hijacked the power, and implemented what would turn out to be one of the most dangerous moves in Israeli politics. Only the Oslo deception was wise. In order to soften the blow, they of course resorted to rhetoric. Instead of forced evacuation, they called it disengagement. What a lovely, pacifying word. Who wouldn't agree to disengage from the Arabs in Gaza? After all, these extremists, these militant, violent settlers are the only obstacle for peace. What followed was the intensifying of the already existing demonization campaign against the settlers. One of the greatest shames in my personal history is me actually signing on to this view. The operation went very smoothly, with very near zero violence from the side of those demonized settlers, which is still misrepresented in all accounts. Each and every Jew was ethnically cleansed from the Gaza Strip. Graves were dug up, bodies transferred, agricultural equipment left behind for the Arabs to use. We viewed the settlers as extremists and as obstacles. We chased them out of their homes, like was done to my family and me. We gave away land that was rightfully ours. Because these people were there, there was army presence. Because there was army presence, there was no chance in hell for atrocities like October 7th to take place. We were dreaming. We closed our eyes and imagined that the Arabs in the Gaza Strip just wanted a state of their own, and once they had one, they would live in peace next to us. We awoke from this dream and into the October 7th nightmare. It's time to apologize, not demonize. And how do we respond to this nightmare? Well, if you ask the people on the left, it is all, again, because of those damn settlers. We learned absolutely nothing, if that is the lesson. You can dislike Bezalel Smotrich or Itamar Ben-Gvir as much as you'd like, but these extremists, these violent right-wingers were exactly right, and I was in the left at that time, were all the way wrong. If you cannot make the logical connection to the settlers in Judea and Samaria, an integral part of the land that was promised to Abraham, then there's a severe logical flaw in your thinking. The only reason the sworn enemies in the PLO and Hamas in that region didn't fully participate in October 7th is that they couldn't, not with military and armed civil presence. A known saying that is, mistakenly or not, attributed to Albert Einstein is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. We tried giving land for peace to Egypt, and what we got is very generously referred to as cold peace. The actual name for it is deceptive, massive reinforcement of the Egyptian army on our border. Why would a country who has supposedly abandoned all intentions to open war with us amass such an army on our border? For our money, we kept and are still keeping this agreement. Then we tried to give land to a psychopathic terrorist organization that never declared it has any intentions to ever accept our existence. And what we got in return was record number of terrorist attacks. Then, based on all of this great experience, we did that again and left the Gaza Strip to the worst of humanity. Once this exploded in our faces, the first to jump on to help were those crazy extremist right-wingers, many of them settlers from Judea and Samaria. The number of casualties among IDF soldiers is disproportionately high in people from that group, what we call religious Zionists. And still, the left keeps pointing fingers at them as some obstacle for anything. You can conclude from history that the Arabs in Gaza, as well as in Judea and Samaria, simply don't want peace. They want to annihilate the Jewish state, followed by the Jews and all the other infidels. Until that changes, and if history taught us something, it is that it doesn't. It's all but a fantasy. One thing is sure, the settlers had it right, and for all my sins against them, I do apologize. If you enjoy reading the Holy Land Dispatch, please consider subscribing for free to receive new posts and support my work.